Dr. Piper, let's talk about one of the most controversial issues in global missions today, and that's the insider movement among Muslims. As a local church pastor, how do you guide your congregation, particularly your church leaders and the missionaries you support, in thinking about this issue?
Well, I'm not the main guide at our church. We have missions experts that are way ahead of me, but I do try to listen to them and join them in a biblical approach. Let me just say what it is first, because not everybody will know what we're talking about. Here's what I mean by it. The gospel comes into an Islamic Muslim context, and a person gets converted, professes faith in Jesus as the Messiah and the Son of God and the divine mediator between God and man. And they stay in the mosque.
Yeah.
They continue to do their prayers, probably continue to read the Quran.
As inspired, even.
There would be varying degrees of how to talk about it.
Right.
Yeah, prophetic book, maybe not all this. In other words, they stay within the religious and cultural forms of Islam and call themselves Muslims, since it just means submitted to God and follower of Jesus, and everything else stays, almost everything stays the same. And the first thing I want to say is that the impulse to this is good. And here's the reason. In America, if you're an unbelieving banker, you golf on Sunday morning, and you dress like that on dress down days or whatever, and you become a Christian, hardly anything needs to change in your cultural forms. You probably go to church now, and you won't commit adultery, and your language might clean up some, and you'll give more to Christ, and a lot of things will change, but for the one who's looking, our culture is so uniform that no big changes. Whereas in a Muslim culture, at least a seriously Muslim culture, all of life is so woven into the religion that to change almost anything is to wave a flag. I'm not a Muslim anymore. And that so isolates you from all life. How's life livable? And many then just disappear. Let's just go to the West. And so I think the insider movement says, that's not a good idea, Leaving is not a good idea. So then the solution is to stay in. So my take on it is that while there are ambiguities involved in what cultural forms can remain, like dress, for example, would surely not be a big deal for a Christian. But I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea to stay in the mosque or to continue to call yourself a Muslim or to refuse, say, to use the term son of God because it's offensive. And so I think, for those who know this debate, I think we should draw the line more or less at C4 rather than C5, so that it would be, in my judgment, misleading, dishonest. And one last point, when I was in Lausanne at the Global Congress on World Evangelization, all the Muslim converts that I met who were there were upset and angry about this movement. Because they said, life is very hard for us. We're laying our lives on the line. And to see Westerners come in here and to advocate that we stay Muslim, that we stay in the mosque, that we stay with the Quran, that we stay with some veneration of Muhammad is exactly what we're struggling for. So there are big arguments and disagreements about this in the missiological community, but as far as our church goes, I want to help the church see that honesty and integrity and biblical faithfulness is our guideline, and then give as many pointers as to where that line is drawn. One last thing, practically, I've really got to listen to our missionaries. I mean, who am I, right? I'm not there. I'm not there. And so for me to make pronouncements without any kind of experience. So I want our missionaries to become our advocates. I want the guys who have thought through biblically, have put their lives on the line in hard Muslim places. I want them to say, yeah, what John just said is wise. And not just because he said it, but because we've watched it, and there are these downsides biblically and sociologically and culturally that we should, as a church, draw the line here and encourage all of our missionaries. In fact, I would say require all of our missionaries not to go beyond certain lines.
Well, that's interesting, because isn't a lot of the pressure on local churches actually coming from some missionaries bringing back, saying, look, this is our hope for a future breakthrough. I mean, we've been laboring for decades, centuries without much fruit, but this is the promise. So a lot of the pressure on local churches comes from the missionaries saying, this is the way to go.
Yeah, and then I think a pastor in that situation whose veteran missionaries are saying that, then he's going to have to do his own homework. Talk to a wider range of missionaries, read the necessary books, go to the necessary conferences, look at his Bible, listen to what they say, and make his judgment call.
Yeah, okay.